Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me today for this important discussion. Today, we will be discussing the critical topic of chemical handling and safety. This presentation aims to highlight the importance of safe practices when handling chemicals, the potential risk of improper handling, and the measures we can take to prevent accidents and injuries. We will cover several key areas, including the risk of improper handling, understanding different types of chemicals, best practices for storage, handling and disposal, and emergency procedures. Handling chemicals safely is essential to protect ourselves, our colleagues, and the environment from harm. Improper handling can lead to immediate harm such as burns, poisoning, and respiratory issues. Long term exposure can cause serious health problems like cancer or genetic mutations. Additionally, improper handling can result in environmental contamination, which can disrupt ecosystems and pose a threat to wildlife. We will explore specific examples of potential risks such as fires, explosions, and toxic exposure and discuss how to mitigate these risks.
Chemical hazardous refers to substances that pose adverse physical and health effect to people or result in harm to the environment due to their chemical properties. Improper handling of hazardous chemicals can lead to severe consequences, including environmental damage, health hazards, and financial losses for the industry. Now we are going to talk about how these chemical hazards can affect your industry. Adhering to regulations is not just a legal requirement, it is essential for maintaining safety and avoiding fines, penalties, and potential shutdowns. Accidents involving chemicals can result in significant financial impact due to medical cost, property damage, and loss of productivity. It is our responsibility to ensure the safe handling and management of chemicals to protect our workforce and the environment. Understanding chemicals is most important when we are working with chemicals. Chemicals can exist in various states, including solid, liquid, and gas. Each state requires specific handling and storage protocols. Chemicals can be classified into different categories based on their properties. These include corrosive chemicals like acid and bases, flammable chemicals such as solvents and gases, and toxic chemicals including pesticide and heavy metals. Understanding these categories helps us implement appropriate safety measures for each type of chemical. We have a big responsibility when we are working with chemicals. Our responsibilities include ordering, receiving, storing, handling, and disposing of chemicals safely. When ordering chemicals, it is important to select reputable vendors, ensure proper documentation, and maintaining an accurate inventory to avoid overstocking and ensure proper storage space. Now we are going to talk about ordering and receiving chemicals. Choose reputable suppliers who provide safety data sheets and proper labeling for all chemicals. Ensure that all chemicals have corresponding SDS for reference. This documentation is critical for understanding the hazards and handling requirements of each chemical. Maintain an accurate inventory to avoid overstocking and ensure proper storage space. This helps in managing the chemicals efficiently and reducing the risk of accidents. Let's talk about NFPA diagram and GHS. NFPA diagram, the National Fire Protection Association diagram, is a labeling system used to identify the hazards associated with chemicals. It uses a color-coded and numbered system to indicate the level of health hazards flammability, reactivity, and specific hazards. The Globally Harmonized System (GHS) of classifications and labeling of chemicals is an international standard for hazard communication. It ensures consistent labeling and classification of chemicals worldwide, which is crucial for ensuring safety and compliance. Let's talk about safety data sheets. Safety data sheets provide essential information about chemical hazards and safety precautions. They include details such as identification, hazards identification, composition, information on ingredients, and first aid measures. Proper labeling is crucial for identifying and handling chemicals safely. Labels should include the chemical name, hazards, and handling instructions. There are various sections included in SDS, such as chemical name, manufacturer, and contact information. Number 2, describe the chemical's hazards and appropriate warning information. Number 3, composition on ingredients. Number 4, first aid measures. Number 5, firefighting measures. Number 6, guidelines for responding to spill, leaks, or release. Number 7, instructions for safe handling and proper storage conditions. Number 8, recommendation on exposure limits and necessary PPE. Number 9, describes properties such as boiling point, melting point, and pH. Number 10, information on chemical stability and potential hazards reactions. Number 11, details health effects and symptoms of exposure. Number 12, impact on the environment. Number 13, proper disposal methods. Number 14, guidelines for safe transportation. And last, relevant regulatory information. Ensure workers understand the language of the SDS. If not translated into the appropriate language, place SDS where workers can see them during the work. Include SDS-related scenarios in emergency drills to ensure workers know how to use the information in real-life situations. When we talk about storage of chemicals, we have to consider many facts. The first one is segregation. Store incompatible chemicals separately to prevent reactions. For examples, acids should be stored away from bases and flammables away from oxiders. The next point is labeling. Ensure all containers are labeled with the chemical name, hazards, and handling instructions. Next one is ventilation. Store volatile chemicals in well-ventilated areas to prevent vapor accumulation. Next important point is temperature control. Store chemicals at recommended temperatures to prevent reactions or degradations. Spill containment. Use secondary containment like trays or pellets to catch leaks or spills. Fire extinguishers. Ensure appropriate fire extinguishers are available and accessible. Next, we are going to talk about handling and use of chemicals. The first point is main routes of exposure. Chemicals can enter the body through inhalation, skin contact, and ingestions. It is so much important to minimize exposure through these routes. The next one is PPE. PPE is personal protective equipment. Use personal protective equipment such as gloves, goggles, and respirators to protect against exposures. Follow the best practices for handling chemicals, including reading labels, using appropriate tools, ensure proper ventilation, and undergoing regular training. Let's have a look on transportation of chemicals. The first point is sealed containers. Use sealed label containers for transporting chemicals within the facility. The second point is safety routes. Plans safety transportation routes within the facility to avoid crowded or high traffic areas. Minimize the risk of accidents. Spill response and emergency procedures. Spill kits. Ensure spill kits are available in all areas where chemicals are used or stored. These kits should contain materials or containing the cleaning up spill safely. The next point is immediate actions. In case of a spill, contain the spill, evacuate the area if necessary, and notify appropriate personnel immediately. Clean up. Use appropriate materials and PPE to clean up spills, following the instructions in the SDS for specific chemicals. Let's have a look on emergency procedures. First aid. Provide immediate first aid in case of chemical exposure and seek medical attention as needed. Emergency contacts. Keep emergency contacts, numbers, and procedures accessible to all employees. Evacuation plans. Have clear evacuation routes and procedures in place in case of a major chemical incident, ensuring everyone knows how to respond. Let's talk about disposal of chemicals. Disposal guidelines. Follow local or national regulations for disposing of hazardous waste to ensure compliance and safety. Labeling. Clearly label waste containers with the contents and hazards to avoid confusion and mishandling. The next point is segregation. Keep different types of waste separate to avoid reactions and ensure safe disposal. Vendor coordination. Use licensed waste disposal vendors for hazardous chemicals to ensure they are disposed of properly and safely. So the today topic is finished like this. To summarize, proper chemical handling is crucial for safety, health, and environmental protection. It requires a true understanding of chemical properties, adhere to best practices, and readiness to respond to emergencies. We all play a role in ensuring safe practices. By following these guidelines, we can prevent accident, protect our health, and preserve the environment. And we would like to thank you all to joining with us.